What I'm really getting about here, it doesn't matter what the funnel is. You can have as many segments as you want. This tries to give an indication of brand awareness, moving through social. We purposely would say names or just contacts. They're engaged in some behavioral targets, etc. That's critical to understand for your business. What's more important is that marketing and sales agree who owns what parts of the funnel. And absolutely beyond that, which is more important, is what is the handover, the passing of the baton of the MQL to the SQL. I'm sure you'll all start hearing about it, to the SQO, to the O. There's only one thing that really matters in all of this, is opportunities. The rest is important for understanding the dynamics of how you get there. But from a business perspective and from a sales management perspective and a marketing perspective, it's the opportunities that will ultimately determine the success or failure. But you have to get this right. I just cannot underestimate the cost and difficulty if you get this wrong. If you, as the senior, maybe owners or CEOs of your company, however small you are, end up in a meeting where sales and marketing are having, what did you do with the leads? You couldn't close the door. Where are the leads? I have no leads, etc., etc. Then the people in this room have failed. Really, really, it'll cause you untold damage. And where will it manifest itself? It'll manifest itself in false pipeline. You will think as a business that you have pipeline. It's just nonsense. And that will kill any sales organization. It will absolutely kill them, because all of your metrics that we'll see later on in understanding the efficiency and effectiveness of our organization will be lost for that single reason. So that's very, very important. I can't stress it. As I mentioned, agree what that funnel is, have metrics. A very simple thing you can do. Marketing pass a lead, which I think is an opportunity to sales. If I was running an SMB organization, right? So in Salesforce, this is still a rule I checked recently. You have 7 days as a salesperson to accept or reject that. If I'm running an enterprise organization, you have 30 days. In other words, for the salespeople to go and re-qualify, rediscover, etc., etc. After that, that's it. If sales accept it, it is an opportunity. Okay? And if they reject it, then you go and explain why. And that's a very, very simple rule that, if managed daily, can lead to huge benefits. Because ultimately you want to avoid those discussions of, I have no pipeline. Okay? Or the pipeline I have is rubbish. Well, if a salesperson says that to you, it's their pipeline. They accepted it. They should manage it. And you have to be very, very rigorous in all of this. Have a pricing model and a contracting model and an engagement model, both for your prospects and your salespeople. That is easy. Your competitors, and there's lots of good examples of whether you use an addition-based model or use some sort of a transaction-based model that you should go and look up on to implement. Hold marketing accountable. This is one of the big shifts that's happening in marketing. Holding them accountable for their portion of the demand gen equation. So remember when I said deconstruct the quota, we're going to have new business add-on. So of the new business, maybe some is going to come from partner referrals, some is going to come from self-chain, and some is going to come from marketing. They have to be held accountable. And every single, we in Marketo, we did weekly forecasts of pipeline demand gen for marketing, as well as sales forecasts of what they were committing to do with what was there with the pipeline. Because it's your ultimate leading indicator of what's going to be happening in several months' time. If I have a sales cycle of 3 months, then today's pipeline, with my close rate, if it's real pipe, is a very good leading indicator of which way we're going. And that's absolutely important. Obviously, get them discussing. The false pipe happens in loads of companies. It will kill any sales organization, and more importantly, it will kill your organization. Okay? Absolutely, you run into a sales organization which are the busy fool syndrome. Now, for false pipe, you can have false leads. In other words, just because I have somebody's name and they're from a suitable company, so their demographics are reasonable, doesn't mean I have a lead. It just happens that I happen to know that Brian Caulfield is from the VC world. So what? It's his behaviour and what he's doing will help me determine if he's a lead. So pretending you have leads, or the vanity metrics, the website visitors and all of that, that's all they are, vanity metrics. Okay? But if you have real leads, love them. Okay? And what I mean by that is have an engagement model. So that inbound sales qualifiers we talked about earlier. And this is where focus really helps. If you allow the salespeople to do this, they will not love your leads. Love them. It was a criminal offence, a firing offence in Salesforce if the queues of leads were not managed. Have a 5-6 touch mechanism. In other words, attempt to call them, email them, etc. And follow it through a reasonable kind of half-life decay model for them over a period of maybe 30 days. Respond quickly and respond often is an absolute way to ensuring that you get the most out of your marketing via pipeline. Use your sales organization if you have limited marketing resources. You know, and yes, we all live in the digital world, and it's great that we can have super inbound or organic campaigns, which I'll mention in a minute. But some of the traditional stuff, you know, like getting groups of people together like this, but for your business, in a second-tier city in the UK or Germany, it doesn't all have to be London, or, you know, maybe Munich or Berlin, can really, really work effectively. Problem is when you have a small marketing organization, you can't have that scale. Use your sales organization, which is relatively speaking bigger, as a mechanism to deliver on that. So from a marketing perspective, everybody knows that organic is good. Organic is the lowest cost. And if we had, you know, HubSpot here in particular, they would rightly articulate proudly the value of what that can do for you. And the trick is to write, of course, good, meaningful content as early as possible. Marketo is an example. The founders of Marketo started blogging about marketing automation almost 2 years before the product was ready. Because they were building the brand, they were building the understanding, the credibility, where the product came into support. So that's very, and there's lots of great examples. And there's great examples about repurposing content. So it's not like, we're all going to have writer's block or, oh God, I have to write chapter 576 on the best way to manage a funnel. It's not about that. It's about taking the same ideas, reworking them, etc. Beware of the freemium word. So, freemium in the SaaS world and we, is a great demand gen. And there are lots of companies, if you have freemium and you have a good solution, you will definitely get users. You absolutely will. But you'll also get lots of attrition. You may also get lots of cost to serve, which isn't helping you fund. So to me, I prefer to look at freemium, and a lot of the organizations have looked at, as a free trial, rather than in perpetuity. And be very wary of the freemium model where you say, I'll give you enough of limited functionality, then I'll get you engaged, and then whack, I'm going to upsell you the real product. It's very, very difficult. The challenge is that the people you really want to sell to get an experience of your company, which is the limited product, and probably say this isn't good enough. And the people who think the limited stuff is good enough are probably not the people you want to be selling to. Whereas in Salesforce and in Marketo and other companies that I've seen do trials successfully, you put your best foot forward. Okay? And think of it in the sense of other services you might engage with. You know, if you were thinking of hiring a hotel for a function room, etc., the hotel manager isn't going to bring you in the back way, in the side through the kitchens, you know, with the limited view. They're going to bring you in the nice way. They're going to show you the best thing. So if you're going to do freemium, do it as a trial. Put your best foot forward. Because again, we're selling a service. Okay? Lots of companies, just so you know, reach an inflection point where they get lots of customers. They even get lots of low-paying customers. But then the churn in that, because it's too easy to get out, becomes a challenge for growth. You know, and I saw somebody recently that has 20,000 paying customers, and I would imagine there's many people in this room would love to have 20,000 paying customers. But they have an attrition rate of north of 35%. Now, I wouldn't definitely go up to Brian and say, Brian, I have a great business model. Will you fund me? I'm looking for 30 million. At 20,000 customers, pay me monthly, $9 a go or whatever the figure was. And then you say, what's the attrition rate? I say, oh, the gross margin is great, right? The attrition rate is 35%. You say you've got out. Okay? So be very, very careful of that. Have a good mix of inbound and outbound. You know, and this is really, really important. People, you know, there's a tendency in the world we live in. We're all going social. Social is it, you know. Well, social is great for communication for B2B companies. You should absolutely, as part of your content strategy, have a good social strategy. As a lead gen, LinkedIn is decent. The rest are, forget it. You just have no business there. You're just fooling yourself thinking that having Twitter ads or whatever is going to cause quality B2B leads, you know. And if you just think of it logically, how many of you use those channels yourselves, desperately hoping that some company you're interested in puts something out that's, you know, going to cause you into a purchasing cycle. Okay? You do want as many representative customers. You know, customers sell. One of the rules we had in Salesforce for these mini events that I spoke about earlier is you could not have a mini event if you were a salesperson. We would not fund you unless you had a customer to speak. So some of the good old-fashioned stuff happens.